$7.8 billion American dollars. That's the latest funding request from government-backed mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to cover their losses for just 3 months. And this is power play, where we have much lower overhead, so don't worry about that. And we are joined now from the Russell Rotunda at the U.S. Capitol, Senator Mike Lee from Utah. Senator, how are we doing?
Just fine. Thank you very much.
Senator, do you guys have that kind of money over there? Can you hook Fannie and Freddie up with $7.8 billion to get them over this rough patch?
No, we don't, and we can't, and frankly, we shouldn't, unless or until we have some kind of an exit strategy, some kind of a long game plan with regard to what we do in the future. This sets a dangerous precedent for us just to say we're going to have this program, and every time they get into trouble, we'll bail them out to the tune of billions of dollars at a time with no questions asked. I think we need to start asking some very difficult questions, including why is this a good idea to have this kind of program in place in the first place? Why is it that this is an industry that should operate with the full backing of the U.S. government every time it gets into trouble?
But now, Senator, the Obama administration, defenders of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have said that if there was any threat at all to Fannie and Freddie going away, that it would wipe out an already miserable housing market. Isn't that a danger?
Well, certainly it is a danger, and that's why we don't act instantaneously. I mean, perhaps if we went from 100 miles an hour down to 0, there would be some real problems. And that's why there's no serious discussion of just shutting these things down overnight as they now exist. But I think there does need to be a transition plan, and I think a transition could be carried out in a way that would be orderly and that the economy could respond favorably to.
There's been a lot of frustration expressed, Democrats and Republicans both, that the executives of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have just gotten some pretty sweet bonuses following, or at the same time that these what we call government subsidized entities are continuing to post these deep losses. Do you join their number as being concerned about those bonuses?
Of course. Look, this is poor form, it's poor timing, and it's indicative of poor policy across the board that includes but is not limited to the funding of these kinds of exorbitant bonuses. If you're going to do government work, you shouldn't be getting that kind of government funding. And again, the bigger picture is here. We're looking at a program whose purpose it is to serve as a U.S. government backstop to the entire home loan industry. And I'm just not sure that's a good idea to put the federal government on the line. It creates a sort of moral hazard that gives rise to the sort of bubbles that we've seen in recent years.
All right, now, moving on, right now, as Thanksgiving draws nearer, we draw nearer to the first deadline for the debt ceiling supercommittee of 6 Republicans and 6 Democrats drawn from both houses of Congress who are tasked with the job of finding cuts or revenue increases to cover the remaining $1.2 trillion in the debt ceiling increase granted to President Obama and the executive branch in August. Their work is, if you listen to some people, they're going to be fine. If you listen to others, like Senator Chuck Schumer from New York, they are bound to fail. Where do you stand on the spectrum of pessimism and optimism?
From day one, I've been a little more in the bound to fail camp. Now, I want to be clear. I appreciate those 12 members of this committee. They've got a thankless job, and it's a tough one. I appreciate their willingness to serve and put in all those hours. But look, bad things happen when you take a 100-member Senate and a 435-member House. And you boil all of that down to one 12-member committee, whose job it is to find at least $1.2 trillion in cuts, to do so not in the open, but under cover of darkness behind closed doors, and come up with something that not only includes unprecedented cuts, but something that's going to have to survive on an up or down vote with no opportunity for amendment. That is a process that, by its very nature, is doomed to fail. And I think it's an unfair task that we've given them, and I think it's unreasonable for us to expect that anything good is going to come of that. That said, if they can come up with something that actually cuts, that moves us in the right direction, I'll be the first to applaud them for it.
Is there a concern? I have heard a concern from some Republicans that the failure of this body and another countdown to shut down or default or whatever anybody calls it, if this indeed goes awry, is exactly what President Obama wants, and will make the Republicans look like a bunch of obstructionist jerks. That's a fear that is being increasingly expressed. Do you share that fear?
Well, of course I do. That's one of the concerns that we have, and it works in tandem with another concern, which is that the deadline for Congress responding to this is December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. They know darn well that members of Congress in both houses and both political parties want to get back home to their families during the holiday season, and that's why they put this deadline right where it was. So the holiday concern, coupled with the partisan attack concern, really makes this a perfect storm. And I hope that the president and I hope that my party will behave responsibly and not engaging in ad hominem attacks, questioning people's motives. I do want to make sure that we keep this focused on the issue, which is out of control federal spending, that we're spending money we don't have, and it's crippling our economy.
Senator, we are very grateful to you for your help today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you. Same to you.